bear with me. I don't think I've ever spoken into a microphone before, so hopefully I can get this spacing right. But yeah, my name's Justin. I'm the owner of Complete Technologies. I've had kind of quite the experience. I never wanted to do computers. I always thought I wanted to be a lawyer. Um, I I found out that lawyers have to deal with a lot of paperwork and you have to be really organized, and that's not me. So I kind of fell into IT because I've been playing with computers my whole life. Started out as an IT monkey, moved on to project team and help desk. Um, Paul and I worked at WBM together, and then Anchor. I was the sole employee until Paul showed up and came and saved me. And then started at Complete Tech and moved on to running it. That was me a couple of months ago, sitting in the server room at a client. So I still do occasionally hop in, but I'm definitely losing my skills. So yeah, today I just kind of wanted to talk about what I'm seeing at like new clients that are coming in, just general businesses in Saskatoon, and the types of threats that we're dealing with. So kind of evolution of cyber attacks obviously goes way further back than that, but what I'm seeing is we're still in the 2015, 2016. People haven't caught up to anything after that. Like when I talk to business owners, they're still thinking that just running antivirus is good enough. They don't know what PII is. I'm asking them, like, do you store social insurance numbers? What information do you have, and where is it kept? So the cyber threats, ransomware. I mean, knock on wood, this is probably going to jinx it, but I haven't actually seen ransomware in the wild in 6 years at any of my client sites, and now I'm going to pay for that. But yeah, the so yeah, I mean, I've seen some nasty ransomware hitting M365, hitting the one that I dealt with wasn't a client, but they didn't have backups. And so recovering from that was a nightmare. I think I spent 3 weeks pulling my hair out trying to get that solved. Third-party exposure, CrowdStrike, I guess. Not knowing where your data is stored, how your software is configured, who's hosting it. We support industries from nonprofit to manufacturing to everything, and a manufacturing company that I've done work with is still running Server 2008 R2 because that's the only operating system that their software vendor can operate on. It's now the third party's problem. It's no longer on site, but that's still a huge risk for them, and it's their main line of business software. Configuration mistakes is basically, my talk's really simple. It's all on the basics, because what I'm seeing is that we're not getting the basics right. People are asking for a SOC, SIM, endpoint protection, detection, and response, and they're still using password 123. So not updating their software, no network segmentation, default configs on everything. Nobody thinks about their HP printer, and they just leave that default. They're not updating it. Times are changing. Social engineering is probably the biggest threat that I deal with in Saskatoon. Phishing, spoofing, phone calls. Total, I think in the past 2 years, I've dealt with almost $2 million worth of stolen money from a couple of clients to just random businesses contacting for help after a compromise. And AI threats, I won't get into that too much, but what I have noticed is that AI has helped craft better phishing emails. And that's made a huge difference. It's a lot harder now to read an email and know that it was a phishing attack. So I don't remember my slides. There we go. So I was called in by a cyber insurance company after a psychologist's office in Saskatoon was hit. It was not good. They had client records, notes stored in OneDrive. Their invoicing and everything was done through email. All users had global admin, no MFA, and basic passwords. Clients were paying the hackers because they were getting sent fake invoices. It was a massive privacy breach, massive loss of reputation. And this was recent. We're not getting the basics right. Going through and auditing your permissions, like the principle of least privilege, we all talk about it, we know about it, but it's getting buy-in from business owners and the people that have to make these decisions. That's what matters to prevent this. And I mean, cyber insurance covered them. They paid for remediation and that, but you still have to talk to the privacy commissioner. You have to notify all your clients. Like, this could be business ending. So not a fun situation to be in. And then one of the other ones, again, they're all kind of phishing attacks or just basic, simple things that people are falling for. Accounts payable phishing attack at a large retail company cost them 600 grand. It was 100 grand a month. Their AP clerk got an email to change bank info for one of their vendors. It was sent from a Gmail address, and they didn't check. It looked relatively legitimate, other than the Gmail address, but they changed the bank info. They were the only AP clerk. They didn't notice that was going on for whatever reason. They weren't getting like overdue statements or anything like that. 6 months went by. They got a call from the vendor. You guys owe us 600 grand. You haven't been paying. What do you mean? We've been paying you every month. They were paying the hacker. Cyber insurance paid them back a bit, but not all of it. And that's a massive hit for a business. Like, if I took a $600,000 hit, I'd be out of business. This is the threats that we're dealing with, and the solution for this is free. That's what I pitch to most of my clients or anyone I talk to, is all of the stuff that we're dealing with, the solutions are free. To prevent this, it's user training and calling to verify. Like, when somebody asks you to change bank info and you're changing your vendor payments and that, why aren't you calling them? If they're calling you, why aren't you sending an email as well? Two-factor verification on something like that. That would have stopped this if they would have called and said, hey, you guys are changing your bank info, can I confirm that? And they would have said, no, we're not. And that would have prevented this money from leaving. The previous one, not having, there we go. Not having everyone have admin roles. Why do you have an admin role? They didn't have anyone that set up their system. They didn't know what they were doing, so it was just kind of the easy way to do that. They didn't have MFA enabled, and their password was simple. I've seen Microsoft accounts get popped even with MFA on them with a simple password. So it gets even more critical to have MFA and a decent password on there. Let's see here. So what I deal with the most still is passwords. Hockey 2 is a real password that I came across. I've run some internal pen tests for clients and found password sheets in Excel and talked to the business owners and like, why are you grabbing your employees' passwords? They're like, well, because we want to be able to log in and see that. I'm like, you can call us. We can give you delegated access to their mailbox. Like, nobody should be sharing their passwords, and you shouldn't be keeping them in an unencrypted Excel sheet on the server named passwords. Like this is still what we're dealing with. The average, according to the internet, the average amount of passwords per person in the workplace is 87. The other thing that we're seeing is you're incrementing your password. You're going from 1 to 2 at the end. And when one account is compromised and you're just using bob@company.com and you're incrementing your password, now I can go and hit every website and try it and just try incrementing, and you're going to get through the majority of the time. Employees are tired of security. Nobody likes dealing with the MFA. They don't like having to have 15-character long passwords. How are they supposed to remember 7 passwords that are all different that are 15 characters long? So they're just doing what they can to get by. Password managers are great. They have to be configured well. And I mean, as I've seen, I demonstrate every once in a while. I've used Mimikatz recently and dumped Chrome passwords and stored Windows passwords on computers. So storing in Chrome can be safe, but you need to have a plan in place. And what I found is using like a managed password manager, having people take care of that. We're getting passwords up to 30, 40 characters. There's 2-factor to get into the password manager. We can hide the passwords from employees. I've got clients that have fairly regular turnover of some employees. We can make it so that the employee can log in, but they can never see the password. They can share accounts between staff members without having to worry that the password's going to get compromised. It's not written down on an Excel sheet. So just doing those things and talking to businesses about basics and getting them kind of working towards more security. And which brings me to simplicity and the basics. This is an example from that picture of me sitting in the server room. This was a 30-person company that had all of that in there. It was a giant mess of cables. How are you going to find the Raspberry Pi that I plugged into your network in that mess? What is running on all of those servers? Like, the majority of them weren't even needed. There's a mix of vendors in there: HP, Dell, Lenovo, Supermicro. They're not even all managed by the same, I think of it as ILO. I can't remember what the actual term is, but ILO, iDRAC, all of that's configured differently. They're probably all still default. How many different vendors are you dealing with on software? I was at a conference down in Florida and talking to other MSPs, and they're like, we have these 4 different antivirus providers, and we, depending on the level of support that the client's paying us for, they get a different one. I'm like, how is your team managing that? Your team's going into 4 different portals to manage the antivirus alerts? Why are you spreading yourself so thin? If you pick a single antivirus vendor and you get as good as you can at it, and you're not looking at 4 different portals, you're going to catch threats more often. If you're running EDR and you just put it out there, you just put it on there and think it's good to go. It's the simpler, the better, especially for small companies. You don't need to be going to the highest level, because chances are when you're putting on a high-end product, if you're using CrowdStrike, you're not configuring it properly. It's not being monitored. And so end user awareness is getting buy-in from everyone. Employees are the biggest threat to the company that I've found. Teaching people without scaring them about personal security and cyber hygiene. The government of Canada has been running great programs. The Get Cyber Safe is free. They have everything on there from securing your Xbox and talking about protecting your kids online. They have Get Cyber Secure, which allows a business to kind of go through basic compliance. And I found that when talking to employees and business owners, without scaring them, just talking about how improving security in their personal life, everyone's heard about somebody having funds stolen from their bank account or falling for a text message scam. When people start caring about security in their personal life, they're more likely to care when they come to work. Know before, example for like corporate, doesn't matter what it is, if it's just somebody talking monthly, or if you're actually running a security awareness campaign, but just continuing that conversation or starting that conversation. I know I'm kind of preaching to the choir with everyone in here, but this is kind of my sales pitch to small businesses in Saskatoon, because a lot of them are still thinking, we're just in Saskatoon, we're in Saskatchewan. Like, why would anyone want to target us? But when you're connected to the internet, it's global. A lot of these companies aren't getting hit by targeted cyber attacks. It's just drive-by scattershot. And they're like, well, I don't need that. I don't need to secure this. I don't need a password manager. I don't want to pay for more security. And I don't want that hit to my productivity. Where password managers can improve productivity. If you just throw it out there and say you have to use a password manager, you're probably not going to get much buy-in. But if you take the time and you sit with every end user, you show them how to use it and actually get them doing it, it makes life easier. It's more secure. Just taking the basics and helping everyone. So what I've done when kind of pitching and selling cybersecurity to small business in the city, highlight risks by asking questions about downtime, how much they could lose, like what would be an acceptable amount of money to lose, what about reputation damage, and then we can go about talking about how we can secure those things. Pitch productivity with the password managers. We've got onboarding down to 5 minutes at one client, where they can put in a form, say we're onboarding a new employee with the password manager, Intune deployments, everything like that. We can deploy new users faster and more secure. And yes, that costs some money, but the productivity increase on that is something that the business owner cares about. They don't necessarily care about the security, but when they can see productivity increase, that's something they do care about. Simple solutions. I've got some of my tools here. I love my OMG cable. I always show that. I bring that to presentations because the prevention for it is free. Don't plug in a cable that I give you, and don't plug in a cable that you find on the ground. Don't grab USBs at trade shows and plug them into a company computer. It was funny, one of the conferences there, people were giving away USB keys and nobody would take them. Because there was a whole bunch of security guys and we're like, yeah, no. I had a guy want me to tap his NFC ring that he was wearing to get his contact info. I'm like, not a chance that I am tapping that. Local examples, it's unfortunate, but there's so many local examples of small businesses getting hit by cybercrime. It doesn't happen here. It does. That's what we're here to talk about, and it sucks that we have to bring that up, but I found just kind of with these things, it starts the conversation, and that's what we're here to do. Mandatory pitch for WatchGuard because they're sponsoring my talk. So WatchGuard, kind of like Fortinet, they got everything. So, yeah, that was me. I know it was kind of a basic, simple talk, but that was what my goal was. So, yeah.
That was absolutely great. Thank you, Justin, and you did well. You held the mic like a pro. You didn't get in the and so that was great.